All right, everybody, welcome back to Salt City Counseling. Once again, my name's Scott Carter. I'm a licensed therapist here in the hot, summery state of Utah. I'm working on manifesting rain. Like every day, it's like, thank you for this rain. Actually, been getting a little bit more. Like July is usually like bone dry. Actually, been getting some sprinkles. So send those positives. Send rain to the desert, man. Vibes to us. But if you want, I got a viewer question in this video. You can ask viewer questions. You can put them in the comment section below. Someone left this in the comments, and so it's if you want to dig through the videos, you can probably find the comment. But thank you to this person for submitting this question. Pretty good question. I'm going to address it. But it has to do with like custody stuff. Basically, an absent parent who is suspected. I'll just read it. Let's just read it, and then we'll get to answering it. Basically, my question is this. Okay, I'm just reading on the other screen. My daughter is 7. Her father sort of disappeared when she was about 15 months old. I've suspected that he has BPD or borderline personality disorder. He has recently come back into the area, and I think he may be looking to get back into our kiddo's life. I have always supported her having relationships with his family, so it's likely that he will at least visit his own family at some point, and she may be there. How is it best to move forward? In what ways can you ensure safety? Basically, how does a parent help their child if the BPD parent is involved? Okay, I'm going to get to answering this question. There's a lot of elements here. I'll probably try to hit on a lot of them. Quite honest, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. And that is that I noticed that there are probably a lot of certain mindsets in here that I commonly see with parents in general these days. But also I see very, very much so with the apologetic parent. The ones that I call like the low conflict parent. The ones that are just always conflict avoidant. The apologetic parent. And the reason why I call them the apologetic parent is because apologizing is usually like a conflict avoidance tactic. So again, overly apologetic just for this virtue of avoiding conflict. So watch out for that, by the way. Beware of over apologizing just for the sake of being conflict avoidant. So I'm going to get to, there's a lot of elements to this. I'm going to get to addressing them. Let me get some housekeeping out of the way. If you're new here, I hope that you will hit subscribe button, like the video, share the video, comment. You know what to do. Helps me out a lot. Help me grow my channel. I'm recently finished my job. And I'm going back to private practice, going out on my own again. I'm actually excited. I'm super excited about the prospect. I'm super excited about the opportunity. And so, in my own efforts to expand, I intend to make some more content. I'm really excited to be making other content and more content. And so, help me out. Help me grow that channel, please. If you really like my content, hit the tip jar, please. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. All of those links are in the description below. If you have a viewer question you want to ask it, feel free to send it. And so let's get to this. Without further ado, I don't want to spend too much time getting a lot of this, housekeeping stuff, in the middle of this. But first of all, I want to. There's a quote that I have saved that I really like, and I'm going to give you this quote because I think this is very, very pertinent to this question. Parents in general too, okay? You cannot control, it says, what your children are exposed to. You can only control, or you can only influence, not control. Let me start over, okay? The wording is very important. You cannot control what your children are exposed to. You can only influence the way that they perceive it, okay? And you can't control how children perceive things. And I can give you lots of tips on how to have a strong impact, strong positive influence on how your children perceive things. But you cannot control what your kids are or are not exposed to. So one of my thoughts here is that if the child's father is BPD or has borderline, and you attempt to keep her from him, there's a good chance that he'll gaslight you. There's a good chance that one day he will talk to your kiddo. I don't know that you can avoid that. I've noticed that BPD parents, they may disappear. It's not terribly common, They sometimes have a hard time letting go, but once they do, they can disappear for a while. I even encountered one situation recently where like the kid was put up for adoption by his BPD borderline personality mom at the age of 8. And fortunately, the dad's parents, because the dad had died, I guess, the dad's parents swooped in and adopted the kiddo up before she could just adopt him out to some random family. So, anyways, the grandparents raised this kid, right? And then just a few years ago, when this kid was, I don't know, 13, 12 or 13 or something. So, mom was gone for several years, 4 or 5 years or something. Showed up back into his life. I'm your mom, and you don't care about me, and apparently is carpet bombing this child, emotionally carpet bombing this kid. He's like 16. He's like 15 or 16 years old now, and emotionally carpet bombing this kid. You forgot my birthday. What's wrong with you? Man, lady, you gave your kid for adoption, but it is, you can't expect this kid. Or yeah, you can't expect this parent to attempt to make an entry point into this kid's life. If you try and protect your kid from this person, right, then there's a good chance that they're gonna gaslight you and eventually tell the kiddo that you're actually the bad guy that has been manipulating them. What's weird too is I've noticed that like the narcissistic types, borderline narcissism, like they have a way of getting into people's psyches, man. I don't know what it is. It is so bizarre. Because you could tell a kid, right, your father's manipulative, and they go, okay, mom, stop telling me what to do. The narcissistic type parent says, your mom, the apologetic parent, has been manipulating you, and they're like, holy crap, really? I don't know what it is. They just have this weird, bizarre influence on emotions and a child's emotions, okay? So, to answer your questions, how can you ensure safety? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I think the word safety is a little bit subjective, what you consider to be unsafe. And the fact of the matter is that's, I don't know that that's entirely possible in life, to, as a parent, to ensure 100% safety for your kids. I don't know that that's a healthy mindset. I prefer to raise resilient kids. I prefer to teach people about raising resilient kids, so that they are, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, man, bulletproof, so that they bounce back, right? They can take a hit and just bounce right back instead of it just being this devastating thing, right? And so what you don't want to do, right? I mean, this sort of has that hint of that idea that you must remove everything difficult. And honestly, from a parenting standpoint, I've never seen that have a positive outcome. To just try to remove all discomfort or all potential for any sort of pain or discomfort for kids, it honestly creates kids who are not resilient. And it's important for kids to be resilient. So, how can you? What is the best way to move forward? I'll tell you what I would do. I would have an honest conversation about the dad from this kid, with this kiddo, if you haven't already. I would be very, very attuned into listening. I would be very, very dialed into listening to the kiddo, answering the questions that the kiddo has. While doing my best to maintain respect for the dad. I think it is important for kids to be allowed, honestly, to have basically an unbiased exposure to certain parents, so they can see for themselves. Like one thing that I talk about a lot in my courses is that it's important to provide a contrast, and I ran into this recently with a 13-year-old kid. He sees the contrast between his dad and his high conflict borderline mom. Man, she is high conflict. I talked to her on the phone. Started shouting at me from the get-go. And I got to the point where I was just like, hey, listen, I don't know why you're shouting at me. She kept interrupting. She kept shouting over me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm going to hang up, you know. But anyways, he realized the contrast is what I'm getting at. He's like, wow, there's quite the contrast here. And when he sees that contrast, his words, I realize that I'm not crazy, which is really, really good, really positive step. And so basically, how does a parent help their child if a borderline BPD parent is involved? Resiliency. Teaching the kid to bounce back. Stop avoiding pain. Stop avoiding discomfort. Giving the kid confidence to fail. Giving the kid to the confidence to make mistakes, understanding that life is uncomfortable and not treating them like you have to put them in bubble wrap. And I think, again, if it was me, I would probably do this too. I would be preemptive about it. I would take steps. I would probably try to reach out to that family and ask, hey, does dad have any intentions on seeing kiddo? Does he want to see his daughter? Because I'm telling you, if you stand in the way of her seeing her dad, if he wants to turn that around on you, there's a good chance he might be able to. And again, I don't know why. I don't understand how or why, but high conflict parents seem to have this weird influence on people's emotions and kids in general. I don't get it. Like again, a narcissistic or borderline parent could say to the kid, your mom won't let me see you, has not been letting me see you. They might believe them, just out of the blue. What you have to understand too is that every kid desires, it's just ingrained in kids, it's just how they're wired, it's just part of our DNA, seek and need validation and love from both parents, okay? And if she doesn't have that from dad, she will seek it. And kids that are desperate for that approval from that parent will go to great lengths and develop a lot of dysfunction in an attempt to get it. And so what you have to do is really learn to support resiliency and support this kid's worth and their value outside of approval from others, right? Like I get after parents a lot these days because it's like their kids' value, their personal worth or their personal value is measured on what they do, how well they do their homework, how many assignments they're missing in school, how well they do their chores. And it's important that your kids need to learn that they are just lovable, they're just important, they're cared about, and they're worthy, and they're important exactly how they are. And so that's sort of a short rundown. It is a very complex situation. I would not just hide and watch. I wouldn't wait for things to happen. You have to be proactive. That would probably be the bottom line for me. Is you've got to be really proactive. Be preemptive, right? I would try to contact the dad. I would try to contact the family and be like, hey, does he want to see her? And what does that look like? You know, there's so many dynamics involved. Do you trust his family? Do you trust his family to watch over her and watch over the situation, supervise the situation? There's a lot of dynamics here that I don't necessarily have. There are a lot of unanswered questions that I have for this, but don't have. But that's the best information I can give you, just sort of based on what you provided here. So thanks again for your question. That's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to subscribe, people. We will see you in the next one.